Welcome to Curious Conversations about Brain Change, where we have open conversations about brain change and challenging situations. Please like, subscribe, and share this out to help spread Teepa all over the world.
Oh.
Are we ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Is this it this time?
This is
Because
it.
last time it was we were a little bit different on timing, and it was like, so I was like, Matthew, is it good? Should we do it? We are live.
We are
Hey,
live.
everybody. It's good to be here. And, sometimes timing is everything, but sometimes you can be off. So tonight our topic is getting clean. Now, notice I said getting clean. I didn't say bathing. I didn't say showering. I didn't even say washing up. But washing up is a lovely thing. I think what we want to talk about tonight is the idea of body hygiene. And body hygiene is something that we tend to take for granted when we're adults because we just do it. I mean, we notice when it needs to be done and we do it. And we all have habits and routines, it turns out. And you'd be amazed how many variations there are on that, I suspect. But we'll sort of figure that out as we go along. So I'm going to kick us off with a couple of videos that I found. Oh, shoot. Now, this may not work very well. No, this is one of those situations where I remembered about 2 videos and I forgot about other videos. So I found this video and I wanted to bring it up and I'll tell you about it, and we may not be able to pull it up. It's with UCLA. Okay, UCLA Health. And they're talking about, okay, the title of is it Caregiver Training, Refusal to Bathe, UCLA's Dementia and Alzheimer's and Dementia. So the first video, the young carer is coming in and telling the person they have to bathe. And then the second video is where the person comes in and says, it's time for your spa day. And she goes, oh, I don't really think I want to. And she goes, oh, you love the spa. You know how you love the spa. And she goes, oh, and then afterward, we'll go out and we'll have ice cream. So the woman gets up and comes with her to the room. The woman stands directly in front of her and says, I'm going to unbutton your first button and then you do the rest. So I'm going to pause there because, I mean, if I could show it, I mean, I could put the link in there. But Beth and Samantha, just hearing me, what comes to mind?
Your voice.
My voice. So part of it is the voice, that sweet sort of sing-songy voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not a fan. I can tell by your face. So
No.
how I sound is a bit of a problem. Okay. What else? Anything else?
I don't know, but maybe when a woman says no, don't unbutton my shirt, you shouldn't unbutton her shirt. Maybe I'm just being crazy here, way too progressive, but okay, joking aside, it completely repeatedly negates what someone is saying I want with really skillful words, being incredibly polite about it. Yeah. And she just keeps telling her no.
Yeah. So to get in front of someone and your first thing is, I'm going to unbutton your shirt. I hope you know whether or not the person has ever experienced trauma, whether they have ever felt threatened by someone touching them right here and taking someone's clothing off. If I just approached you and said, I'm going to start unbuttoning your first button and then I want you to do the rest, and it came out of nowhere because the last thing we talked about was going to the spa. And there's no robe around. I'm not carrying a robe. There's no evidence that there's a robe and that here, what we're going to do is take your blouse off so you can put the robe on so you can be ready for the spa. I mean, there's no queuing up with visual cueing. It's directly standing in front and starting to undo buttons. And in our world, that's a big pause, because what I'm concerned about in this, I understand that they're trying to show don't grab and don't push and don't do all that, be nicer. But my problem is if somebody watches this video and tries it and something bad happens, guess who's going to get blamed?
UCLA?
No, not a bit. The person living with dementia. They are resistive. I tried the technique doesn't work. So therefore, we must go to the medication because or take two people, or you've got to be careful, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it happens all too often. It happens pretty frequently. And we know that many people do have a history of sexual or physical abuse. Much of it is hidden, and we don't talk about those things. There's a whole generation of people who didn't do any talking about that. And with dementia, even if it wasn't me, I just was around something like that happening, the risk is I don't feel comfortable with this. And so to identify the problem as a refusal to bathe is a real misnomer. What's really happening here is I'm not okay with you taking my clothes off, which is a whole different story. That's undressing. We haven't even got to the bathing. So it's simple to sort of think, okay, here's the problem, when in fact, it is way complicated. So Matthew, do you want to go ahead and share that? Yeah, I mean, it's up and available. I want people to see why I'm concerned about this kind of video being out there and being shared as this is what care people should do. And I'm going to ask my mentors, because I've got 3 of them on here, and Matthew will be busy. But if you want, let's go ahead and see what you all think about this video. And this is the one that you would want to do, by the way. Matthew, you can skip the one that's really not okay.
So here's the link. Is this the one, Teepa, that we're looking for?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the one that's right down there. Oh, the next one, the one that's right below that, Matthew.
Got it.
There you go.
Oh, this one says it's in Spanish. Are we wanting to show the Spanish one or something?
Oh, sorry. No, sorry. I had it in English.
I think.
My lady talked in English.
Let's see. God, I think I have another one that.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Let me take this one off.
English. Okay. She was in English when I did her.
I can share if you'd like.
Oh, well, no, you can't, because it has to be Matthew.
Oh, that's right. So, Matthew, if you click the link in the chat above, where there's a YouTube link to it, and that's in English, about halfway through it. Oh, there we go. You found it. Nice.
All right.
I think it's actually the one later on where she's sitting in the chair.
Yeah.
There we go. That's the one.
That's the one. Now I think we got it. All right, here we go.
Okay, Mom, it's noon. It's time for your spot treatment.
Oh,
Okay, so let's pause
I
here for a
don't
minute.
really
'Cause we're
wanna
picking on this
go.
poor video, Teepa, but I'm noticing something that's really, really cool.
Yes.
Okay.
I knew you would, Beth.
I really got, well, I got lured in by this video because I was actually pretty excited at first. I thought maybe. So I love the fact that she approaches her, gets low. It's a little fast, but gets low. We're being really picky, and comes in on her dominant side. We'll move aside the fact that she just reached out and touched this lady, but
Yeah.
that
Okay.
aside, there's
All right.
so much that a person, another human being, and also those living with dementia will forgive you.
Right.
If you show up on my dominant side and you get low, you're showing me you're not a threat. You want to be in partnership as a friend with me. And I can even violate some things like reach out and touch you. But I just wanted to, it's
I
not
wanted
all
to point that out.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to take that same footage. Matthew, you back us up a little bit. So, because I'm going to take the same footage and I'm going to point out some of the things that potentially could cause an issue with someone, and we would still be saying it's the person. Okay, so go ahead, Matthew, and play through that.
Okay, Mom, it's noon.
Okay,
It's time for your.
So she doesn't come from where mom can see her. She's way off to the side. Mom's clearly looking at the book. She gets all the way in, gets down, and then mom, right there. And so it's highly possible there's already been a startle.
I think she's leaning away from her a little bit, Teepa, if you notice.
Oh, so we've already got a startle. And that puts the primitive brain called the amygdala on alert that you may not be as safe as you're looking. So now let's move it forward. So it's not like I disagree with Beth. She does get down to the side, but that was pretty fast. And she got right on in there. And she first sound was from the side. And mom was busy doing something else. There was no acknowledgement. Oh, hey, mom, you're looking at the book. Yeah. Oh, hate to bother you, but it's about time. I mean, there's so many ways to ease into this that can reduce that potential for an uncomfortable interaction. And I've just watched too many commercials blaming the person living with dementia for agitation and swearing and ugly words and mean behaviors. And it's like, this has the potential to have done the same thing. And again, it's so easy to think it's them. It's just the dementia and it's them. We didn't do anything. I did everything I was supposed to. So I'm going to go, okay. And
Yeah.
okay.
I think Samantha calls it packish. Packish.
Okay, good enough. All right, let's see what happens next.
Your spa treatment.
Oh, I don't really want to go.
But you love the spa. Makes you feel like a
Pause.
queen. Yeah, and after that,
So I don't really want to go. Oh, mom, you love the spot. Did I overestimate that voice, or was that the voice that I did?
I think hers was actually a little bit more childish inducing sort of.
Oh, mom, you love the
Mom,
spa.
you
It's
love
like
the spa.
I said I didn't want to go. I mean, why are
Now,
you arguing with
Teepa.
me? It's a spa. If I want to go to the spa, why do I have to go to the spa? I mean, this is that thing where making the person living with dementia look less intelligent and less mature reinforces a stereotype that I'm not willing to reinforce. And it's like, this is not a bad video. It's just too much of not okay. Go for it.
we'll go to your favorite restaurant for lunch.
Well, okay, I guess.
All right, good. Let's go. So first, let's start by unbuttoning your shirt. I'm going to do the top
Pause.
button. And
So when were her hands? Did she say, Mom, first we're going to start by unbuttoning your shirt right down here? Or was it, first we're going to start by unbuttoning your shirt?
Her face
Once
says it
again.
all. The mother's face is like, okay. It's more of a freeze reaction of the
Yeah.
amygdala than it is a fight yet.
And as I said, there's nothing here that speaks to we're going to be in a spa, we're going to the bathroom, we're just going to stand in the bedroom and I'm going to take your clothes off. All right, so let's see what happens next.
and then, can you help?
Okay.
Okay. Good job, Mom. Okay, Mom, I'm going to put a little water on your toes. No, test it. See if it's okay.
Ooh. Okay, pause. What is one of the most sensitive parts of the human body with lots of sensory end organs? What about if you have neuropathies? What about if you're a little nervous? Oh, look, I don't see any non-slip mat underneath her feet. Or maybe a towel or a surface that would feel sort of, I don't know that I would pick doing the toes. I would have it out here and I would say, hey, Mom, feel this with your hands, see what you think. Here. And let her be the one to put her hand in the water. Okay, let's keep going.
How's that feel?
It's warm.
Good. Now
I
let's
think Mom's
wash down
being
there.
nice.
Can you do that by yourself?
Yes. Great.
Okay, pause.
Wait. Did she go from the feet to the head? Did she say hair?
Back it up, Matthew.
It's like going for the gusto.
Can you do that by yourself?
Yes. Great. It's warm.
Good. Now let's wash down there. Can you do that by yourself?
Oh, it's worse.
Yes.
It wasn't the head. It was down
I
there.
knew you'd be surprised when you heard what she said.
Okay, we're almost finished. I'm going to turn the water pressure on low and fill up this cup with some water. I'm going to stand up. You just sit right here. Okay? Just lean your head back and pour a little bit of water on you. And we're going to gently massage your hair with your favorite gardenia scented shampoo. How does that feel?
Yeah.
Oh, she liked it.
Okay, we'll pause. Okay, there we go. All right. So what you see here is what I would call classic caregiver perspective of what to do. And we try really hard to make sure that we hear from people living with dementia. So today during our Let's Talk, I asked people about bathing and showering and grooming because I was, bathing and showering and washing up. And I said, one of the things that came up in many of the posts that I looked at, because I was looking and researching a little bit about what was being said, they said there's a problem because people living with dementia, or people with dementia typically, they get real scared of water. They're afraid of water, and that's why they refuse to bathe. And I said, okay, so I had, let's say, 16 people on the video on our session today. And I said, so how many of you are scared of water? Because I understand, according to what I was reading, and we had one person who says, I'm afraid of water, but I have been afraid of water a long time. But here's the thing. I don't mind getting washed. I just don't like water running on me. I don't like it running on me, which is highly specific. So it's not like I have this great fear of all water. And so I was just curious about that. One person was highly specific. She said, I'm not at all scared of water. I do not like the sound of water hitting the tub or the tile. And I do not like the feel of water hitting me. It hurts. Okay. Here's the thing that someone else said. I won't shower when I'm traveling. And the reason I won't shower when I'm traveling is I don't know the force or the temperature or the controls of the water. And that scares me. So I'm scared to shower or bathe when I travel. And yet I know that's probably one of the really important times to take a shower or bathe because I'm going to be around people. But I just can't make myself do it because there's too many unknowns about that particular shower or bathtub. And I don't know where I can find stuff. And I don't know, there's too many I don't knows. So what are your thoughts about that one? I thought that one was really important.
Now that just seems like there's so many alternatives to showering that would be acceptable for the rest of the world.
Mhm.
My thought is, yeah, that sounds horrible. I agree. You probably shouldn't shower.
Good. I had 5 men who said, I have no interest in a spa. If that's what being presented, you can forget it. My idea of getting washed is you go in, you wash up, you get out. And if I could do it as sink, I'd be fine. I just got to hit the parts I need to hit. somebody else said, it's not that I don't like showering even. It's that I don't remember to shower. I mean, I'm like already past that. And it's like, I forgot to look at the list of things I'm supposed to do and I skipped it. It's too much work to go back. And several people said they misremember. They actually, by the time they're ready to go out, they thought they did shower. And one person said, sometimes if I have the energy and the time, I'll go back and feel the towels. And if they're not wet, I know I probably didn't shower. So I'll try to remember the next day. Because it's just what it is. Someone else said, here's why I would do a spa day. Because I think people will go slower and they'll be more gentle. So it's not really I care about the spa. It's that I think when people think spa, they feel like they have to be nicer. And so if people are going to be nicer, I want the spa day. I don't really care about all the stuff,
That sounds,
but it makes them slow down.
that's a terrible reason. So in other words, we've got a person who has a major neurodegenerative disorder,
Mhm.
and they've had to think up a way to compensate for the the try to carers,
Yep.
to get around the fact that what is normally happening is painful and uncomfortable.
You got it. Someone else said, I try to get myself to shower 2 to 3 times a week to do my hair. Okay. But frankly, it's really exhausting. And I'm having a hard time making myself do it 2 to 3 times a week. I just am worn out. So here's the thing, if I shower, I have to lay down and rest, or I don't want to go do the thing that I was taking the shower to go do because I'm just too tired. So somebody else said, please don't give me a hot shower. I have a hard time breathing. And when the room gets really hot and warm, and then 3 other people said, oh, I love the room to be hot and warm when I take a shower. Somebody said, oh, I like to keep, my wife got me water shoes because I'm really worried about falling. So I put water shoes on in order to make sure I have a floor surface that's safe. And somebody else said, if you're going to, I really don't like people messing with me. I really am having a hard time even imagining somebody touching me because I'm still independent. But if so, if you're going to do it, shut up and do that while you play my favorite music. And let's just get this over with. And that thing, Teepa, you talked about wrapping a towel around me, please wrap a towel around me so I don't feel naked. And then just shut up and get it over with. So that was sort of what my group came up with. Interestingly enough, what they actually wanted me to do, and I will be doing it, is one of the folks said, I would really like a menu of what do you like and what don't you like. And I get to go through my menu of what's right for me. So I started creating it because they're right. We should have a menu. So the first one is my getting clean preferences. I would rather shower, take a bath, or wash up at the sink. I would rather get clean when I first get up in the morning, right after I'm done working or sweating, in the evening, or before I go out socially. When I get clean, there are some things that make a difference for me. Temperature of the room, temperature of the water, force and pattern of the water delivery, air movement in the room, speed at which you do things or whether you talk, whether or not you tell me what you're doing or whether you simply show me what to do, whether to play my favorite music or not, what's the texture of the floor, what are the colors in the space, what is there to look at, what's the lighting in the area, what device do I tend to use for washing, a cloth, a scrunchie, or just my hand, what kind of soap do I use, liquid, bar, a particular version, something that smells or feels a certain way, what kind of texture and towels and number of towels, and how do I use towels. So what ended up happening is I started to do it. It's like, wow, How frequently do you think we actually get curious about people's bathing habits? So when we do the work of trying to do this, we're very open to the idea that, frankly, we need to be really super interested in the human being we're with. And we need to consider that taking off shoes is revealing your foot. And maybe we could start with a foot bath and see what happens. Maybe we could start with washing hands and face and see what happens. Maybe we could start with putting lotion on to see what happens. Because the idea that anyone in this world would be super fine with a person they don't know trying to get their clothing off and then put them underwater on a regular basis is a little hard to imagine, except we sort of feel like it's one of those things we have to do. It's one of those elephants in the room that we believe is just part of care. And it's like, I'm a firm believer that I can get people a whole lot cleaner with a washcloth or a wipe, cooperating with me than a shower and all kinds of fancy stuff if they're not happy with me. I'm much more likely to get hurt, and so are they. So I'll pause there for a second. Beth, Samantha, Matthew, anything you all want to add to our equation here of really pointing things out?
So, Teepa, you were bringing up a whole lot of things that we could really check in with another human being to figure out what are their preferences. And I know from personal experience, whenever I've talked to some of my family about, hey, have we ever done this? Have we ever talked about these things? The conversation quickly turns to, but do we really need to talk about it? Or where do we even go? And this really reminds me of the purpose of our me sheet.
Mm-hmm.
So we have this amazing sheet that our team has really worked on, you've worked on, created to help us almost guide us through figuring out somebody's preferences, things that would be really important for us to know. And so looking at where we can find those resources, looking at where we can get that support, because this is not an easy conversation. Again, how many of you sit around the barbecue and say, hey, I was wondering, what would you prefer when it comes to showering?
Run to your sponge, wait. Washcloth. Tell me, here, just a bar of soap. Here you go.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, could you get me another chicken leg? So, it's not a very comfortable conversation. It's not something that often people think about doing, only until it's at the point where it's like, wow, I really wish I knew this. And so why do we wait? And so thinking about where we can find those resources, and I will, believe it or not, we have a way to share this out. I will share this out so that folks will get a chance to check it out. But it's a starting point. It's a place to start really thinking about that idea of what are some other things I can check in on, and definitely let us know about support for how do I bring this conversation up? Because again, this is not the most comfortable conversation in the world to have with other people when you really think about it. So how do we do that? So we would love to help y'all. But that was bringing in my mind when you were naming all that stuff off. I'm like, wow, how many people think of all of that stuff when they're trying to have conversations to figure it out until it gets to that point, until we're like,
well, and by then, if my language is gone, I don't have those words, but what you might see is what I do in order to try to address that. So we're going to get a chance to hear from someone that Rachel, we're glad you got here just in time, Rachel. Rachel spent some time talking with Scott. Now, Rachel, I don't know whether you and Scott talk about Scott's form of brain change that he lives with, or you didn't. So I'm not sure. I listened to it, but now I can't remember whether it was that video or another video.
Yes, we do talk about it a little bit.
Okay, good. Then we will immediately go ahead and listen to Rachel and Scott talking about this idea of getting clean. I wasn't sure that I remembered because I looked at
If you
several
have
videos.
questions, we can talk about, but he does say that he's living with frontotemporal degeneration.
Perfect. With a frontal variant, right?
Behavioral variant.
Behavioral variant. Okay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Scott. I have the behavioral variant of FTD. We're the bad boys in the dementia world. So I'll see if I can coherently talk to you all. I can talk just generally about personal hygiene.
That'd be great.
Okay. Well, for me, I spend most of my time in my bed. Main reason though is not FTD related, it's chronic pain. I don't go out. I don't like out. We don't have visitors. I don't want visitors. I don't do a lot, so I don't get sweaty much. But the act of actually taking a shower is like the worst thing I go through in a day or a particular whenever I do it. I take a shower like once every 3 weeks, I think, and I cut my hair every 2 months. My face. And when I'm in the shower, I get in, and the water is nice and warm. Actually, I have to have it a little hot. And so I get my back wet. It's hot. Then I spin around to get the front wet, and already the back is freezing cold. I guess sensory issues, and the water from the shower head, it stings a little bit. So I spin back and forth like for 5 minutes just to try and get myself acclimated. After that, it's not so bad. It's overwhelming to me, like, especially if I've gone 2 months and I have to do my hair, my face, and shower, and it's like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. So I cut my nails just, I guess, when they're bothering me. This stuff just doesn't bother me. It's apathy. I don't care. And actually, it does affect my relationship with my wife. She likes if I can spend time with her in her bedroom, but not if I'm all stinky or unclean. I can't control it. I wish I could say, "Oh, I want to snuggle tonight, so I'll go shower." It doesn't work.
Now, you mentioned last time we talked about kind of the reward if you took a shower every 2 weeks.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not really a reward-based learner or whatever.
Okay, didn't mean it quite that way.
I didn't know how to say it. There's probably a better way, but brain's a little mushy. But my wife's got her own issues, and she always helps me when I'm in the shower or asks me if I want help. I don't want help. I just want to do it myself. But she does help drive me off. But when I get out of the shower, or when I turn the water off, I start to freeze. Open the door, and wow, I get smacked in the face with cold air, even though we have a space heater in the room running at real high heat. I get my towel and start drying off. And when I'm done, my neck and my back are sweating already. It just seems stupid. Now, I've had that before FTD, so I'll rub, take the towel over it again, and then it's sweating again, and I go lay in my bed with a towel under my neck, just to, I guess, get it out. I get very anxious when it's time. I know. My doctor, my FTD doctor, B. Penn, she talked about cognitive apathy, and that really resonated with me. I get overwhelmed with even sometimes the teeniest little things, and a big thing like a shower. It just seems like no, it doesn't bother me. I don't mind not being totally clean.
You mentioned the clothes. Is there a particular reason you wear the same clothes, comfort, or it's easy and you don't have to think about it, or?
Yeah, that second thing.
Okay.
I just don't want to do anything really, except play my games and watch whatever TV shows and movies. There's always something on. We got all the streaming services, so I do brush my teeth. Try and do it at least once a day, because when I'm going to sleep, I can't have a yuck mouth.
But you mentioned your back bothering you and making it hard. I know it's not an FTD thing, but just making it hard to brush your teeth, that kind of thing.
Yeah, the low back is from a car accident in 1996, and just leaning over the sink, brushing my teeth, really intensifies the pain in my low back. Same with washing hands, washing dishes, anything that's where I have to bend over.
Yeah, but that would make it even harder.
Yeah, it does
get the initiative to actually do it. It's another hurdle.
Yeah, one day I started playing some of my favorite music, and I was getting into it. And, all right, I'm gonna do stuff today. Stopped, and I'm like, no, I don't wanna, and I don't know how to get past that. It's weird. It's like you have insight, and if you have insight, why couldn't you fix it? FTD is not fixable by your own brain.
It's like you can know it, but it doesn't change it.
Yeah. There seems to be changes in maybe some connections in my brain. So I can still think somewhat intelligently. I can still remember some stuff. I can still figure out how things work to a minimal degree nowadays. But
do you have any challenges with sequencing? Breaking the task down into steps. First you do this, and then you do that.
Oh, yeah, for the most part. But like one time I got out of the shower without using soap. Just rinsed myself off. I got back in my bed and was like, did I actually use soap? Well, I'm not going through that again just to add soap. So
forget it.
Yeah, I just put some deodorant on, new clothes.
Called it good.
I wear the same stuff between showers. The same sleep shirt. I have a sweatshirt on too. I got 2 fans blowing on me. I have a lot of apathy, and you combine that with pretty bad chronic pain. It just way too much for me sometimes.
It's hard enough, but the pain would make it nearly insurmountable to actually get up the whatever to do the thing you already don't like doing.
Yeah, I don't like cleaning up stuff. I don't like organizing. I'm a horrible organizer these days.
Would you be
But
willing to talk a little bit about the apathy and FTD and how that all kind of plays out?
well, for me, basically, I just don't care. I don't care if people know I'm dirty or think I'm dirty, or I don't care that they know I'm in my bed nearly all day long. I don't care that they know I sleep 12 hours a night. Stuff like that. Fingernails, I don't care who knows that. Even though my wife wants me to, do all that stuff, I just don't care.
How do you manage to overcome all that and do it anyway?
I think I just turn my mind off. We're all different, all us FTD people. I mean, vastly different. All dementia people are different, but we're a special kind of different.
You could probably say that again.
We're a special kind of different.
I really appreciate you taking the time to help me out and to share your perspective because like I said earlier, it is unique and I think it's an important perspective and I really appreciate you being willing to share that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank
Right.
you.
I'll see you.
I'll see you around.
Yep.
Okay. Take
All
care.
right.
Bye.
Thank you, Scott, and thank you, Rachel. So, Rachel, I have a question for you. Scott mentioned reward. What had Scott talked about last time that was, quote unquote, his reward for taking a shower? Because you knew it, and Scott couldn't remember what it was. But he said, as he said, I'm not not a real reward based learner. Legit. But what was the reward? Do you remember what it was?
Oh yeah.
I figured.
So the reason I said that was in a previous time he talked about how his wife had said, hey, if you take a shower, I don't know if it's every 2 weeks or something, you can come in my bed and snuggle for a while. And so that made it worth because he wanted to do that. So that's why I asked that question.
Yep. That's what I figured. Because he talked about snuggling right after, around that time, but he had lost sort of the wiring connection between that was the reason he was willing to at least try to do it. And so I am sure in any facility in the US, I can't speak to every other nation, but in the US, I am sure that Scott would be forced to shower with greater regularity unless there was some special dispensation and it's got to be a special place that really acknowledges the person and what their rights are, and that Scott has a right to say no. And it's driven by apathy. He's very clear it's driven by apathy. The problem is people see that as, well, but you've got to make him. And it's like, I can encourage, I can foster, I could certainly say, Scott, I know it's super hard. Would you do the pits in the crotch? That's all I'm really wanting. What I want you to realize, for those who are out there, I want you to realize how intense this sensory experience is for Scott. I mean, we make recommendations of using a towel wrap, and so the water does not hit you. And the second reason for the towel wrap is it keeps the warmth of the water against your skin. But that takes a lot of putting it all together and collaborating with someone. And Scott really just, if he's going to do it, just do it, get it over with. But the idea of washing your face as part of the shower sequence, if you could do your face separate, then that's one less thing to do. And doing it in parts. But Scott really, truly doesn't care. So, Rachel, do you know whether Scott has ever had pressure areas or sores or skin problems that are really problematic for his well-being? Or he's good with it? He doesn't really care. You guys didn't talk about it. I didn't know if he's talked about it elsewise.
Not that I know of. I know that chronic pain is a real issue. And I know that it makes it hard to move around. So he does spend a lot of time in bed. Although I can say when I talked to him recently, he actually moved around more than I'd seen in a while. So I think it really depends on where he is that day. And he mentioned having a short burst of energy and feeling up to it. But no, I don't think there have been issues. I think apathy is just, I don't care. And if I don't care, why should I do something that takes so much work and so much effort? And it's such a miserable thing. He said earlier, it's like the worst thing in my life. That's pretty strong language for that.
It is pretty strong language. So it says, like, if I don't care, and the relationship with my wife, yeah, it's a problem. But once again, the apathy is getting in the way of doing anything different about that. So it takes a special person to partner with Scott, for sure. But it takes a special Scott to figure out how to live life with that much discomfort most of the time, and not having a modification so that you could actually be up here and brush your teeth and not have to lean over a sink to do things. I mean, that's one of those things that as an OT, my brain just goes, "Ooh, can we switch the environment?" But, it's like, would Scott be okay with switching the environment? It would have to be an agreed upon thing.
You mentioned Scott being a special person, and it takes a special person to support him. And I have to say, and Scott has said it multiple times, that his wife is an amazing support person. And she really, really is.
Yeah, I'd agree. So, Matthew, thank you, Rachel, and thanks to Scott. I think very few people understand, as Scott said, the bad boys of dementia are people with behavioral variant frontal temporal dementia all too often. And one of the reasons they get labeled as bad boys is, yeah, their dementia makes it hard, but so does our lack of understanding it and appreciating their perspective, their point of view. And in many ways, in the supportive environment, in the right place, saying, okay, so be it. And when you said, oh, Rachel, when you said wearing the same clothes, is it the same outfit or is it the same repetitive outfits? Does he change clothing, or is he's in that outfit for 3 weeks?
My understanding is he stays in the same clothes in between showers.
Mm-hmm. That was what I figured, but I was just wondering. All right. So we are short on time. And I did want to share another video, but we will make sure that we make that available. This is from our friend Joanna. And Joanna and I had a conversation about looking your best. And she was talking about, first, she has, well, they've changed her diagnosis several times. At the time we were talking, we believed, and she believed that she had young onset Alzheimer's. They aren't sure right now what she has. So they've changed it yet again. But as of right now, Joanna was talking about when she was teaching at the university and she was a forensic psychologist, what she would do to get ready for going to class and teaching class, and how she looked and how important that was to her. And then we talked about her life now and what's important to her and why she does what she does. So we will make sure we make that available. And that's part of what you can watch. If you want to watch this in segments, we'll put it on YouTube. But we had a few questions that came in. So here's a question. One is, what suggestions do we have for an OT for someone living with dementia who has broken teeth? Ooh, and they're trying to brush their teeth. They've tried Tom's toothpaste to decrease the strong mint flavor to see if that helps. So I'm going to say, okay, first of all, I would actually plan to not use toothpaste much at all. And I would simply use, first of all, just a toothbrush and a very, very soft toothbrush. And I would have the person working with me. And I use hand under hand at all times when we're doing mouth care. Before we get started, I would work with some swish and spit with liquid to make sure the mouth is really moist. And I take a look at what's coming out when the person spits. Are we talking about particles? No particles. And then what I might start with is I typically start with the person on the sides, because I know that the sides of the teeth of the oral cavity are less sensitive than the very front. So we'll start on the side, and sometimes I'll start if they are a chewing surface, because that may be helpful. If someone has broken teeth, however, I want to be thoughtful about that, because we may have exposed nerve. I have certainly had teeth broken off at the roots and still attached by one root. And people had viewed the person as agitated and aggressive. But the problem was, when we were cleaning, I found out that there was a tooth that was hanging by one root. And it's no wonder they were in a lot of distress. So once we got that dealt with, the quote unquote behavior went away. So there are some other things to do. We have a couple of videos on mouth care, because mouth care is so vital. We've done some special videos on that. And if you're interested, get up with us and check in with us on info@teepasnow.com, and we'll point you to the right video for further information. The second question, and I'll put this up and I'm going to let Beth check this up. Washing someone else's hair. Washing someone's hair. And what I would say is, I do not suggest what the woman did in the video of tip your head back and let me pour water on it. Because an automatic reflexive pattern when somebody starts to dribble water on you is to throw your head forward. Where's the water going to go? All over you. And then it's like, don't do that. So one of the things I'll do is have the person hold a cloth over their face right here. And then I'll take a wet cloth, a drenched wet cloth, and stroke back with a drenched wet cloth that's nice and warm, and do it back while they're holding this here. Or I'll have them take their hand with my hand. And then we will start figuring out just with water first, because I want to know what they do with water before I add shampoo. Because if shampoo is added at first, then what have I committed myself to now?
I gotta finish the job.
Yeah, because now I've got shampoo on there. So now we got to get rinsing. And I got to get it rinsed to all the soaps out, because I don't want to leave soap in somebody's hair. So what I'll do is water. And then I'll often put some soap on a washcloth if things are going well. But I don't really lather it up, because then we got to unlather it. And the reality is, I've also got to get all that lather off somebody's body again. And if we've already done the body, and the hair is sort of the last thing that we're doing. One of the things you want to think about is, does a person really enjoy fingertips, finger pads, or just stroking? And each human, it turns out, has some different preferences when it comes to head touching. What I would suggest is moving things back away from the face is usually a really good idea. I wouldn't necessarily recommend tipping somebody's head back, because when you do that, you could elicit a startle reflex, or you could have a person, and now you have somebody at the very front edge of a shower chair, in a slippery tub.
So
Not
Teepa,
my
say that again, if you will, as you were bending back. Say those words again. Without bending back. So stay.
Oh, without bending
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
So when somebody bends back, there's a risk that they will go into an extension pattern. And if they do that, they can slide to the front of a shower chair. And now you've got them on the very front edge of a shower chair in a wet stall, and you're trying to rearrange everything. So it's just not a great idea in my experience.
Yeah, and Teepa, I love how you talked about this idea of how and what touch is more tolerable to somebody. You know, some of the things that you think back that we do sometimes with kids, like if we can go and look at kids with sensory differences, like the way that they experience the senses, we can learn a lot from those sorts of situations, because we're much more likely to somehow we give grace to a 5-year-old with autism than we do somebody with a dying brain. But and to think about when we don't expect a child to have language, we don't add other language. So a lot of times we're really skilled as parents to go, okay, kiddo, this or this, 2 different types of touches. And the kid doesn't have to describe it, doesn't have to say or figure out what they're talking about. This idea where I watched in that video of the woman adding in all this language of what she's going to do, we think we're being so kind and respectful by telling somebody what's going on, as I'm also moving and doing 2 on your body.
I'm going to stand up. It's like, do you want me to stand up? I mean, what are you asking me to do? I mean, when she said that, it was like, do you want the woman to stand up? Because you're showing her stand up. You're saying the word stand up.
No, mom, sit down. And you're like,
Yeah.
I never told you to stand up.
Oh, well, I thought you told me to stand up. So we agree that taking a bath, showering, getting clean is an intense experience. We also believe that people are not prepared and trained on how to do this in a reasonable fashion. And so what ends up happening is we have many, many people living with brain changes that come with dementia who are identified as resistant to bathing, when what I'd say is they don't like the sensory experience, they don't like the social experience, they don't like the situation they find themselves in. And I don't know many of us that would want to repeat something that's a negative, miserable experience
Right.
again and again and again. So I guess my request is, if you aren't sure what to do, maybe become more skillful just at interacting with people living with dementia, and offering support and guidance. But it's simple to think, well, you just take a shower, mom. But I'll tell you, it's not that easy when your brain is playing tricks on you. And when I say I already did, the least helpful thing you could say is, no, you didn't. So our time together is up. We may not have answered all your questions, but I hope the opportunity that you had to meet Scott and listen to what his story is, to listen to what we've talked about here, and to watch the videos that are available that I frankly don't find as helpful as people might want them to be, because I think it's simple to think you've got the one thing to fix everything. I simply just don't believe there's one fix for everybody. And I think the most we could do is get super curious and be supportive and be willing to back off and believe that maybe there was something I said or did that just made this really hard. And if I say that shouldn't have happened, and I am so sorry that what I did was not helpful, is there any chance that we could try again? I can usually get grace because I'm willing to admit something didn't go right. Let's pause before it gets worse. Till next time. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, team here. Thank you, Rachel and Scott, particularly. And we will make sure we put up Joanna's video clip so you can take a look at it as well. And I want to say a big thank you to my Let's Talk team. who gave me all the good information from the source, the experts, indeed, living with dementia, who gave me lots of good data about this thing we call getting clean and what would be helpful and what isn't. Till next time, take care all.